Alright, how's it going, my squids? Today we are going to be learning some Bacchus and, going over the build and whatnot, and I'm not really happy about making this guide because every Bacchus player I ever see is so trash. The worst part is that he's probably one of the most brain-dead characters you can ever play. He has such a simplistic kit, such a simplistic fucking passive. It's like, I don't know how you fuck up with Bacchus because he's just your engage. You build him tanky with one damage item and then you stack your passive and then you just do a bunch of damage, and then if your team doesn't kill them from all the damage you do, then I mean that's your team's fault. Like that's pretty much it. But once you engage and you pop everything, you just auto a couple times, but you don't overstay with Bacchus. You definitely get in, do what you gotta do, grab that crowd control up, and then do what you gotta do, burp on some bitches, and then be done with it. You don't want to overstay your welcome because Bacchus's biggest issue is that he either engages or he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't have an escape, so his escape is his tankiness. But other than that, you engage, you burp on bitches, and then you stun a bunch of people. Your team follows up and does a bunch of stuff, and then if you don't get anything out of it, cool, doesn't matter. You did your job, get out. Every Bacchus I ever see overstays their welcome and they end up getting killed for it, and that's just what you don't want to do. If you overstay your welcome, yeah, you're tanky and whatnot, but the point being is that you don't have any abilities, you don't do any more damage, especially if you don't have your ultimate or any CDR, then essentially you are just doing like 50 damage to anybody. Even squishies you're not going to be able to myrtleize if you don't get your full combo off. So don't overstay your welcome with Bacchus, and definitely get in, do what you got to do, and get out. Alright, but let's start with the build. So this is my personal build. I always go Gauntlet of Thebes. Normally, people like to go the CCR boots, or not CC, no, it's the crowd control, CCR boots. I forgot what CCR meant for a minute, but I like to go Shoes of the Focus because you get that 10% fucking cooldown reduction, and then you also get it from Breastplate, and then you also get it from Mantle of Discord. You want that maxed out, fucking CDR because you need to be stacking your passive as much as possible, so you need to absolutely be capped out. So this build works perfectly fine with that, and then you're gonna get the mitigation from both Pestilence and Breastplate, and then you'll get the CDR from Breastplate. You'll get that mana, you'll get that physical protection, a very good item. Now a lot of people like to go like Sovereignty and Heartward. That's I don't think it works well on Bacchus because as much as he is a frontline, I would assume, or this is just me talking of course, my personal opinion, but I would assume that he does better in more of a, I guess, flex, role. He is a tank, but I would say that he needs to be the engage more than like the, I guess, team mitigator. He needs to be the one to crowd control people. He needs to, intoxicate people. He needs to do a lot of being in the middle of the mix, and Sovereignty and Heartward, they definitely will hurt him in that area. Yeah, you'll still be able to do a bit of damage, but you'll lose the consistency of stacking your passive because you won't have that cooldown reduction to boost it up as much as you would like. So in my personal opinion, CDR is paramount versus team survival, because your team is just gonna have to play around that. Like, you just kind of have to make the choice. If your team really needs that survivability and you need to get the auras, then I mean by all means get Sovereignty and Heartward. But in my personal opinion, if my team can't play around me crowd controlling everybody and doing a bunch of damage, then I don't think that's my problem. If I'm going out of my way to spoon feed you kills and all you have to do is auto attack a non-moving target, then I don't know what more I can do with you other than just stand still and let this aura try and protect you. So I just don't see how that fails too much. But again, this is just me talking. Now let's talk about Soul Reaver. Soul Reaver is a pretty interesting choice. I like it a lot. You'll get that true damage. It's very important because Bacchus does a lot of damage. So having that 10% of like true damage is just nuts, because you will see their health drop immediately like to 0 once you have your ultimate. It is going to be disgusting. Then we go Mantle of Discord for the obvious CDR. It's very just important. You'll get that protection from both physical and magical. You get the passive, and just of course the CDR. That's super important. That's pretty much the build. You can go full damage Bacchus as well, but the same principle applies where you need that CDR as much as possible. So if you're gonna go full damage Bacchus in case you're fucking around like Arena or something, definitely perfectly fine. Just play around the cooldown reduction so you can stack your passive as much as possible, because the reason the full damage build works is because of his passive that gives him a certain percentage of mitigation, so it's good. good. Moving on to abilities, so we're gonna start with this very interesting passive. It's not complicated at all, but I just say it's interesting because he's the only person in the game that has a passive like this. So basically, you've got 3 stages of the passive. You got Thirsty, Tipsy, Smash. Smash being the obviously the best one. You gain 30 magical power and 14% damage mitigation. This is huge for you because on top of your already major tankiness, you're gonna do a lot of damage and you're gonna get that extra 14% damage mitigation. It's going to be absolutely disgusting what you can do when you get to Smash. And I'm gonna show you guys, look at the cooldown, 5-second cooldown, and it only goes down like the percentage that it goes down is so slow, and you get it back so often, and then boom, you're already smashed after 10 seconds, after like not even 10 seconds, after 5 seconds, you're already smashed. You're good to go. You're maxed on your passive. You're gonna get all those buffs and whatnot, and you're done. You're good to go. Now it's time to engage and get shit going. Moving on to his first ability is called Chug, which he takes a drink of his like ginormous jug thing, and he just basically gets blasted. He gets drunk as shit, and you gain a bunch, and I mean a bunch of protection. So you'll get 35 protections, and this duration is for 6 seconds. And the best part about this is that you can engage with this. So you pop your drunk thing, and then you would engage in however you want, jump in, and then they're gonna try and do damage to you, but they're gonna do like 5 damage because you not only do you have your first ability, and you can just keep proccing it every 5 seconds essentially. So not only do you get a huge amount of protections plus the passive, you're also just super tanky from your build in general, and you're able to dive in and crowd control like holy crap, what do you do? Moving on to a second ability is Belly Flop, and you kind of just saw it. You jump on somebody and then they get slowed for a percentage, it's 20%, and then the slow duration is 2 seconds. So not the longest slow in the world, but it's a very decent slow, and you also get the knock up, so you can pair this really well with like a Wheelix or something. So it's definitely a very good engage, and plus like the radius is huge. Like I say it's huge, but there's bigger, but like this is pretty huge in my personal opinion for something that's up like every 9 seconds. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. Then we have his third ability, which is Belch of the Gods, and essentially he just burps on people. He literally just burps on you, and then once it procs for like, I think what is it, for 2 seconds, and then they are stunned. So this is like the best part, is that you get stunned for 1 second, and then they're at a 50% healing debuff. That is absolutely ass. Bacchus is the ultimate counter for Changa, Aphrodite, anybody that is absolutely ass to fight when in terms of like just sustain, you counter the fuck out of them. And this is perfect because I'm seeing quite a bit of those characters in this recent meta. I don't think they're very good, but I just see them very often because they're super easy to play and they're brain dead as fuck. And then his last ability is Intoxicate. Now this is a very awkward ability because basically you get intoxicated, and then you like, it's kind of like the Cabrakan effect where you do your little ground smash move, and then they're kind of like all wobbly and everything. So it's literally the same thing where you just kind of lose a little bit of control of your character. So it's really good in terms of just after you engage and stun people, you pop your ultimate, you do a buttload of damage as you guys can see, and then you get that intoxication debuff, which is gonna last for 6 seconds, which is absolutely disgusting. And then you get the magical power buff for 60 plus 60. That's ridiculous. And also look at the radius of this thing. This thing is huge. You pop this, you get that D, or not debuff, you get that huge buff, and then you're just doing so much damage. Like you absolutely wreck people. Now, one of the things that I need to point out with his ultimate is that you only get the buff after you pop the ultimate. So if you, like, for example, if you engage like this, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna pop your ultimate, you're gonna get this like magical, like you're gonna get the buff, right? The issue is that you already blew all your abilities, so it's not gonna work. So when you engage like this, essentially, and then you pop this, you've got this buff, right? But you're not able to use it. Like, what's the point of having all that magical power if all your abilities are down? It's wasted. So what you want to do is either be able to hit the ultimate raw, or engage first like this and then pop this and then do burp, so that way you get the the buff is actually affected to your burp. So even though you're still going to be sacrificing some damage, the point is that you're going to get more out of it from the from using at least one ability and then intoxicate and then your belch, because then you're going to be able to do anything. You'll get the most damage from just a raw ultimate and then like stunning and then doing like all sorts of things like this. Then you'll get a lot more out of it. But as for just using the engage first and then do the full combo then hit intoxicate, it's not gonna work. Another thing I need to point out in case you guys are a little confused, he only gains the buff once he's actually fully smashed, so you have to keep track of your passive as well, so just bear that in mind. I kind of forgot to mention that his passive is like a play for each of his abilities, so he needs to be tipsy for pretty much all of his abilities minus his first one. So if he's tipsy, the belly flop, the enemies get a slow, or they will be slowed, and then for the belch of the gods, if you're tipsy, they will also get stunned. So this is why you have to keep track of your passive all the time, because you need to at least be tipsy to use your regular abilities and smashed for your ultimate. So just bear that in mind. But that's pretty much how you play Bacchus. Pretty brain dead. There's not really much to it. So let's just go ahead and just see the damage. So I'm just gonna show you guys the regular without like intoxicate combo, and then boom, look at that damage. Like, oh my god, it's like you do so much. But you see what I mean though? Your autos don't do a whole lot. So once you do your full combo including intoxicate, you're pretty much just a sitting duck. There's not much you can do because you're not going to be doing any damage with your autos. So this is why your team following up is super important. So as long as that you at least are engaging and know when to get out of a bad situation, you guys will be pretty much perfectly fine. So it's kind of just up to you guys how you want to play Bacchus. So it's like I said, it's up to you. Make sure you guys build that CDR so you can keep stacking your passive as much as possible and getting that buff. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.